Hello, and thank you for joining this webinar promoted by the Consumer Goods Forum. My name is Flávia Balve, and I will be moderating this webinar today, which will give you a sneak preview of the program of the Global Food Safety Conference 2016 in Berlin. The webinar will last for about 45 minutes, and this is the program for today. We will start with a brief introduction about the Consumer Goods Forum and the Global Food Safety Initiative, as well as an overview of what to expect from the conference. Then, Anita Scholt-Oppheimer, Senior Director, Quality Assurance and Product Sustainability of Royal Hold, will talk about the main program highlights for retailers. John Carter, Global Director, Quality Assurance of Metro Cash and Carry, will give his insights about what manufacturers should expect from the program. Anne Gerardi, Manager of the GFSI, will then give you a sneak preview of the GFSI board announcements that will be made during the conference in Berlin. And finally, we will have a questions and answers moment moderated by me. You may send your questions in writing at any time using the GoToWebinar tool. Some quick words about the CGF. The Consumer Goods Forum is a truly global association with 400 members across 70 countries, from retailers, manufacturers, and service providers. Our mission is to provide a platform for our members to share knowledge and practical solutions and to network on a high level through working groups and events. We work together based on strategic pillars that address some of the most important opportunities and risks facing our industry globally: product safety, health and wellness, end-to-end value chain and standards, and sustainability. About the Global Food Safety Initiative, the GFSI is an initiative of the global food industry to enhance food safety practices and consumer confidence locally, regionally, and globally. This work is accomplished through collaboration between the world's leading food safety experts from retail, manufacturing, and food service companies, as well as international organizations, governments, academia, and service providers to the global food industry. You can see in the screen some facts about the GFSI. So a few words about the Global Food Safety Conference. It is one of the leading annual food safety events. It brings together over 1,000 top food safety professionals from over 50 countries to advance food safety globally. It is a unique opportunity to network with industry peers, share knowledge, and hear innovative ideas from thought-provoking presentations from international industry experts. And the 15th edition of the conference will take place next year in Berlin from February 29th to March 3rd. What can we expect from that? Well, this 15th edition will take a look back at what has been achieved in previous years and where GFSI now stands, and how we can realize our ambitions for the period ahead. Plenary talks will draw a picture of the GFSI journey from the big picture created by politics, science, and the business world via the new opportunities presented by new technology, especially big data. We'll also discuss consumers' concerns and how to respond to a crisis in our new reality and ultimately sketch out a vision for the future. We'll also have inspiring breakout sessions about emerging developments from edible insects to big data, from allergens to herbs, and some deeper insights on global markets and trade regulation, crisis management, big data, and quality and food safety culture. We'll embrace several challenges that we are facing in order to achieve our goals on food safety and bring it closer to everyone. This is an overview of the conference program. We will have 9 breakout sessions and 5 plenaries. We'll have a discovery tour and plenty of opportunities for networking during these social events. We start on Monday afternoon, and for those who are interested in finding out more about food safety management in Germany, we have on Tuesday afternoon a discovery tour program. On Monday afternoon, a discovery tour program visiting local retailers and manufacturing locations. We recommend that you register for this as quickly as you can because there will be limited places. And then the conference itself starts on Tuesday afternoon with a plenary opening session moderated by Professor Chris Elliott. and that will discuss what is the status on food safety today and what has been accomplished so far. The 5 plenary and 9 breakout sessions in the 3 days of conference will bring relevant discussions, innovative ideas on the context we find ourselves, and ultimately at the closing plenary we'll come together again to sketch this new vision of the future, a clear view of GFSI's role and its added value. Also, don't miss out the various networking opportunities, not only the welcome cocktail and the official dinner, but also the lunches and coffee breaks where you'll be able to meet your peers in the industry as well as the speakers. I would like to invite now Anita Schultz-Oppheimer, who will be talking about what's in it for me for retailers.
Hello everybody, thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Anita Scholte-Oppheimer and I work for Ahold. Ahold is an international retailer with presence in Europe and the United States, mainly on the East Coast. And the company Albert Heijn is part of this Ahold family and is based in the Netherlands with over 900 stores. So every day we are having a lot of customers in our stores. So if we can move to the next slide, please. In Albert Heijn, we fill every day about 5 million plates every evening in the homes of people that are eating our products. And the consumer trust is very, very important to us as a retailer for Albert Heijn. The consumer trust is something we have to cherish, because if the consumers don't trust us anymore, they won't buy and trust the food they need. And to be honest, these customers have faced quite some incidents over the last years, and we all remember the horse meat scandal, for example. And this has influenced the consumer trust in food. Well, us being food safety professionals, we all know that food has never been as safe as it is today. But the perception with our customers is different, and we have to deal with it. And this consumer, they mix things up. They don't really know the difference between food safety and food fraud. They only hear things in the media and things that are wrong with our food. And actually, they don't even want to think about food safety. They just want the food to be safe. And right they are. But as a consequence, they want to know today much more than the years before where the food is coming from and where the food has been produced. And as a retailer, we have to make sure that the food is both safe and has not been adulterated before it goes to the customer. And this trust in our food links directly into the trust of our brands, and therefore it's for Albert Heijn a very important topic. And this links very nicely to the topics we will also discuss in Berlin. For instance, in breakout number 5, we will talk about food fraud, the war on fraud. The session is moderated by Petra Wissenberg from Danone. She is an expert in this field and works for years on this topic. And in the breakout, we will talk about protecting the consumer from the impact of fraud activities. And we will present some collaborations that have delivered very helpful insights, methodologies, and tools that can be used by all stakeholders to further improve our systems. And also to better understand where we are vulnerable and where we have to protect ourselves and the integrity of our products and brands. But also in plenary number 3 and breakout number 3, we will talk about crisis management and communicating well. So stop that scandal, it's called. We will talk about crisis communication, some recent examples and what we can learn from it. That the right communication is crucial to get the right message across at the right moment to the customer and to all stakeholders. In this breakout, we will talk about crisis communication as a crisis life cycle and how to prepare, respond, and recover. We will share insights on how to respond to a crisis, but also the steps food companies can take to make a crisis much less likely and how to recover from it if the worst happens. And what could we have done in the first place to avoid a crisis? So both topics, food fraud and crisis communications, are covered in the Berlin conference, and I'm very happy with it because it's very important to a retailer. So if we move on to the next slide, I want to explain you a little bit about the supply chain we have. From the raw material supplier, transport to the manufacturer, transport to the distribution center, and transport to our retail outlets. And actually, we don't talk about a supply chain anymore. We call it a supply web because everything is interlinked. First-tier supplier might also be a third, fifth, or fifth-tier supplier in a different supply chain. And for Albert Heijn, we source about 15,000 own brand products. And of these 15,000, 8,000 are food products. And these products come from 1,300 food suppliers worldwide. And behind those 1,300 food suppliers, we find about 3,000 food production locations. And of course, for us, it's impossible to visit those 3,000 production locations by ourselves, and therefore we require as a minimum to have all our suppliers and manufacturers to be GFSI certified. So this can be, for instance, Global Gap. If it's produce, we want the certification to be, the transport to be certified. We have also a lot of BRC and IFS certifications. And interestingly, in breakout number 3, we are going to talk about primary production. The breakout is called Hospitality and Spices, and this is linking the food on our plates in the hotels we are staying to the very beginning of the supply chain, the primary production. And one of the topics we will cover here is the spices, and spices are used as an ingredient in many products we are selling to our customers. And spices, they go through often through very minimal processing, and on the other hand, we have seen some issues in the year. We can think about the cumin recalls we have seen this year, and it's crucial to have a good grip on both the food safety as the food fraud aspects side of the spices, and this will all be covered in the breakout number 3. So if we move on to the next slide, I would like to talk with you a little bit about food innovations, because as a retailer, we are always looking for new food innovations that we can offer to our consumers. And well, in itself, it's already a challenge to find enough innovations, but once we found them, we have to make sure that they are safe to consume, that the novel food is safe. In breakout number 4 in Berlin, Simone Hetzberger, also from Ahold, will moderate a session on novel foods, the pros and cons on safety of organic food and the safety of insects. And in this breakout, we will have hopefully a very good debate about the food safety of both these topics. And on both topics, we'll have 2 experts presenting. One expert will be a pro and the other one will be a con. And we will listen to both sides of the story and then also have a discussion on it. And I expect it to be a very heated discussion. So that's on novel food. And then I would like to highlight the topic allergens, because it's very important for a retailer. In breakout number 6, we will talk about allergens. The session will be moderated by Sylvia Pfaff. We will spend time on this topic on what do we need as a retailer, but also the challenges we are facing of unintentional allergen cross-contamination, risk assessment, these kind of things. And both retailers and manufacturers are facing challenges in allergen management, and there's still a lot of work to be done in this area. And that's why I'm very happy that this topic is on the agenda of the program of Berlin, and hopefully we can bring this topic one step further to where it has to go. So if we move on to the next slide, we see on the slide Mr. Heijn, and Mr. Heijn, he is one of the in the family of the Albert Heijn, who founded the Albert Heijn stores. Mr. Heijn states that retail is all about the relationship that we have with our customers and how we have to continue to make their experience better every day. And he is very right. And I believe that one of the things the customers need today is that we show more traceability and transparency about the ingredients and the products we are selling. We need more transparency in our supply webs. So the one step up and one step down the supply chain is not good enough anymore, because our customers expect more. They want to know where, for instance, the 21 ingredients in their pizza are coming from. And so transparency on the products we sell is becoming more and more part of the shopping experience we want to give to our consumers. And we want to do this in store, online, on pack, everywhere. And we have to organize ourselves and make sure that we first get all the data we need and then organize it in a way that we can give it to our customers. This is a huge task that we can only solve together as the whole industry that's involved in this topic. So big data, how we call it, is a topic that concerns both manufacturers and retailers, and we need each other and all other players in the supply web to make the next steps on big data. And we really need to tackle this topic. So there's a plenary on the first day and a breakout number 7 on the last day, where we will present and talk about this topic. And well, actually, John Carter is the moderator of breakout number 7, and I think he will cover this topic as well in his slides a few minutes from now. So I would like to move on to my last slide. So why should you visit the Global Food Safety Conference in Berlin? Well, my first visit to the conference was 3 years ago in Barcelona, and since then I've come back every year because it's a great possibility for networking with quality colleagues of other companies, to see the scheme owners, the certifying bodies, and talk about all these things that keep us busy all day. So the big data, the allergens, food fraud, crisis management, and to learn more about these topics, but to also discuss with colleagues about these topics. But most of all, and maybe that's even more important, it's also about meeting old friends and making new ones. So the network element is really one of the very nice assets of the conference. So I hope to see all of you in Berlin in 2016. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anita, for the very valuable insights that you have shared with us. And I will now invite John Carter to talk about what's in it for the manufacturer. Thank you.
Thank you, Flavia, and thank you, Anita. What's in it for the manufacturer? Well, I actually work for a retailer, so you might ask why a retailer is talking about manufacturing. My history is, however, in manufacturing, more than 20 years in Kraft and now Mondelez. So I think I can extrapolate from my current experiences as a manager of quality in a retailer, dealing with manufacturers, and use a bit of my historical knowledge. So next slide, I wanted to summarize the presentation here. Once I want to just tell you a little bit about Metro Group, for those of you that don't know. Tried to explain the importance of understanding our supply chains. Anita mentioned that I'd like to talk a little bit about big data and what that means for food safety, and then summarize with a look at collaboration. And in each case, I'll try to refer that to either breakouts or preliminary sessions within the conference this year, the program that we've put together. So next slide, please. Metro is, I think, something like the 5th biggest retailer in the world, although we are somewhat focusing. The last time I showed this slide at the GFSI meeting, there were slightly more countries, and we've also, in the meantime, sold our department store operations. I'm responsible for the one on the left here, Metro Macro, which is a business-to-business concept, selling cash and carry type products to hotel, restaurants, catering, to small businesses, and to traders. We are operating in 26 countries with 750-ish stores, 32 billion turnover. Next slide, please. So I wanted to firstly kick off with a comparison of the retailer perspective to the manufacturer perspective. Having worked on both sides of the fence, I used to think when I was in the manufacturer that retailers had it easy. I now transferred that mindset to saying that in fact manufacturers had it easy. Of course, we both have our individual challenges. If you are working from a retailer perspective, you have a store like this. This is one of our stores in China. You have thousands and thousands of SKUs per store. You have complicated networks, supply chain networks. You have, therefore, a need for very good traceability, which Anita just mentioned, and a need for trust. What retailers have here is the breadth. They have the huge scope of many, many different products. Contrast that with manufacturing on the next slide. If you were working for a manufacturer, next slide, please. You have a much more detailed knowledge of your supplier base because you are, by definition, producing a much more narrow scope of products. You know a lot more, therefore, about your raw materials, and you know a lot more about your supply chain from end to end. And you have much more information for your own specific products on the consumer behavior. And what you have as a manufacturer is depth. So to contrast the two, the manufacturer has a kind of a vertical information, and the retailer have horizontal information about quality and safety performance. Next slide, please. So what does that mean in terms of breakouts and plenary sessions? Well, one is about food authenticity, something that we've all been concerned with in our operations. Well, I was going to say in the last 2 years, but by coincidence, 2016 is the anniversary, the 500th anniversary of one of the oldest food laws in existence. If anyone speaks German on the line, this is the Bayerische Reinheitsgebot, the Bavarian purity law, which applied to beer. 1516, that law was put into place, and here we are 500 years later talking about authenticity. Now, what I put here together is a kind of a concept where you have what I call my qualicopter. I think we as a function, we fly above the whole of the supply chain. We have the opportunity to dive down into anywhere, whether it's anywhere from the seeds that go into the farms, that go into the products that we make, or from the consumer behavior. So we really, in the quality and food safety function, have this beauty of flying above the whole of the chain and looking at what can go wrong and how we can improve it. However, and this is a quote that I put together here, at the heart of any supply chain, there's a need for knowledge about the product. And I think in the current world of technological and social change, with everything from technology to social media, we have this chance, whether you are a retailer or a manufacturer, to go deep into a product. We have, for the first time, the ability to parachute out of that qualicopter and dive into the depths to see what we can find about the origins of our problems. Next slide, please. That sounded quite romantic, didn't it? So one of the things we try to do with Metro is to, of course, coordinate and manage our suppliers. I won't bore you with the numbers of suppliers that we have here. As you can see from the numbers here, we have quite a complicated network. All of those people have to be managed, and you can do that with specifications, of course, but I would like to think that we can also do it by sharing goals, by sharing an understanding of what it means to manage food safety and quality, so that we don't have to have arguments. We have alignment on any improvements and changes that we make. We have something called Quality Link within Metro. I'm sure many other companies have similar IT systems, and these IT systems give us an ability to see what's going on in our supply chains, in our supplier base, in the manufacturing base, and help to coordinate improvements, which links into the next slide, hopefully. So this is me at the top left. I am 50 years old. I'm not very computer literate. I mean, I can write a PowerPoint slide, obviously, but when it comes to the details of what's happening in the paradigm shift in information technology right now, I'm very much an amateur. But what we have is, we're flying our qualicopter, as you can see. That's me on the right as well, flying a helicopter above our supply chain. Then there's a new concept called the cloud. Possibly you've heard of the cloud. This is where somebody puts a bunch of data in and somebody else interrogates it. That's pretty much as I know. But what we can do now is to see where our products are produced, where they are handled, where they are distributed, and where they are sold, and even beyond that, to whom they are sold and what our restaurants, our hotels, and the consumers are doing with it. So we start to put together a global picture of not only products but categories and entire supply chains of data of behaviors and activities. And that is something that I, with my little iPhone there on the left, can interrogate and understand. So we are focusing, at least within Metro, in the early days of this, on some of our easier and less complicated supply chains. There's a fish there as an example. A fish doesn't change much when it goes through the supply chain. But with my iPhone, I have the barcodes, and I can find out pretty much all of the potential information that we can log in the cloud for any of that. And I see that significantly changing the way that we think about communication and collaboration and data sharing on food safety in the future. And one of the key breakout sessions that we'll be having, and there's a plenary as well, which I will personally be very involved with, is to try and challenge both our speakers and the audience on what that means. How do we communicate? How do we share data? What do we do with the data that we have? What do consumers do with the data that we generate? And how do we use that to link into public health information, to link into epidemiological data on incidents, to try to really make a huge difference, a step change in improving food safety globally. I personally think it's one of the most exciting times to be in this business, and come to Berlin and we'll talk more about it. Next slide, please. So, it's me in the qualicopter again, I'm afraid, possibly a metaphor that you'll see later on in the conference as well. But we need also to be able to share not just data, but knowledge, and share the way that we integrate with each other. And of course, we do that within GFSI, within our schemes. The schemes are the key to cooperation. The schemes, as we see here, the BRCs, the IFSs, the global gaps, these are absolutely fundamental building blocks for managing food safety in all of our supply chains. And we all have suppliers, we all have customers, and we all know that this is one way that we can recognize and share the basics in food safety. We also know that it's not always easy to get to that phase. So when you start in a new country, in a developing country, or whether you start with a new player in your business, it might not be immediate that they gain the full certification. So what we have here is MAS, that's our own internal system within Metro. We would use that to support manufacturers, to support growers, to get up to speed within GFSI. And that is based on, in fact, it inspired the original document for global markets. Global markets protocol is the way that we manage the phase-in of GFSI certification for developing and new players in the markets. And I think it's one of the most exciting ways that we can share the message, not only, as I said, with data, but also with experiences, also with personal experiences. The networking that you do in these events is something that is invaluable for making a difference globally. Next slide, please. And so to finish, there's a little video here of which we produced last year for the Global Food Safety Conference, which if you want to see how Metro is integrating farmers, manufacturers, retailers, and customers and consumers. And I would simply say, welcome to Berlin. Please attend. Berlin is an extremely cool city. And because it's our home game, we really want to make an impression and get the message across that in the European heartland, GFSI is living and well. That's me.
Thank you very much, John, for the useful information. Regarding the video that you were mentioning, we will share the presentation afterwards, and then you will be able to see the video clicking on the QR code. Okay, I'll now welcome Anne Gerardi, Manager of the Global Food Safety Initiative, and she'll be giving us a sneak preview of the GFSI board announcements that will be made during the conference.
Hello everyone and welcome. So I will talk about the GFSI announcement that will be made during the stakeholders meeting. These announcements concern 4 topics: China technical equivalence and GFSI presence in China, the new version of the guidance document, GFSI regional outreach, and food safety culture. Next one. So first to start, GFSI signed an MOU with CNCA at the beginning of November during the 4th Focus Day in China. China is a key link in the global food safety chain, and the Chinese government have shown innovation as being the first government to approach GFSI and submit their national certification scheme to be assessed against the GFSI requirements. And then at the beginning of November, China has been acknowledged as technical equivalence, and a signature of the MOU followed this acknowledgement at the beginning of November. So in order to take into account the differing structure of government-owned schemes, GFSI is introducing a new category, technical equivalence. This category is dedicated to government-owned schemes and allows for the acknowledgement of scheme equivalence against the relevant technical requirements of GFSI guidance document. It is distinguished from GFSI recognition of commercial schemes, which also assess the scheme's governance and operational management components. GFSI and CNCA, which is the Certification and Accreditation Administration of China, are really delighted to be the new public-private partnership. The technical equivalence is a positive development for China and GFSI, and this is a continuation of the work that has long led within public-private partnerships and demonstrate GFSI recognition of the importance of public-private partnerships. Next one. Another announcement that was made in China, GFSI and UNIDO joint declaration is designed for innovative food safety capacity building projects, and it mobilized resources for their implementation in China and globally. The aim is to build a platform on food safety focusing on identified priorities. GFSI and UNIDO will jointly advocate food safety as a shared responsibility and improve understanding of the importance of effective engagement of the industry in advancing food safety globally. A third part of the China implementation of GFSI implementation in China is a MOU signed with CNHFA. CNHFA is an independent national and non-profit social organization co-initiated by the Chinese leading food production and operation entities, scientific research institute and inspection institution, with the approval of the State Council and the Ministry of Civil Affairs, and endorsed by China CFDA. This collaboration between GFSI and CNHFA is to proactively encourage the improvement of food safety management system locally. Another topic that will be a big announcement also at the conference, a new version of the guidance document will be launched in Berlin. It will be version 7.1. New additional scopes will be in this new version. The scopes on food brokers and agents, and a scope on retail and wholesale will also be included in this new version. The guidance document will be renewed in a modular format, the modular formats being made to address more easily each stakeholder's needs. To continue with another third announcement on GFSI regional implementation, GFSI has local groups, and they're the way for GFSI to improve food safety on a regional level. Two new local groups will be in Berlin, Latin America and European Union local groups. Latin America local group has been launched a few months ago, and it's already a success. The first focus day happened 3 weeks ago, and it reached more than 800 participants. The EU local group will also be launched in Berlin, The objective will be to address food safety issues through European perspectives, of course. To finish with the fourth announcement, GFSI will launch a new technical working group in Berlin, Food Safety Culture. The working group will gather industry leaders, academias, industry experts from all over the world, and the organization will be also based on GFSI local groups. The purpose is to implement global guidelines on food safety culture and KPIs to measure them. Do you want me to go further or how we can start? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the insights that you gave us. We have some questions here that we have received. I'll ask John to answer the first one. And the first one, John, is the title of the conference says Making the Change. What does this change refer to?
Well, for me personally, it's to do with what's happening as much outside our industry as inside. You know, the speed of political, social, technological change that's happening right now, whether it's about the rise of China and India, or it's about the social effect of social media on information, or it's about the kind of traceability IT stuff that I was talking about. For me, this is hugely interesting and exciting for impacting what we do. We are finding out more and more about incidents, of course. We are finding also about what happens to our products and where they are consumed. We are getting more and more feedback from consumers and customers, and we need to transform that into real targeted improvement programs so that we can, as I said in my presentation, make a step change in improving and improving food safety and reducing incidents.
Thank you very much, John. We have a question for Anita as well. Anita, what speakers do you think are a must-see as a retailer?
I hope you see me, Anita.
Of course, John. I will not miss your presentation. Well, I find it a very difficult question because we have many interesting speakers who have confirmed to be present in Berlin. But to name a few, and I don't think they need further introduction, is Professor Chris Elliott. He will be talking about the challenges to the integrity of global food systems. He's an excellent speaker, and I look very much forward to listening to him. And he's, I think, on the first day, he will be in the plenary session. And also Daniel Diermeier, I look very much forward to. And just to name a few, but there are much more interesting people. Mark Taylor will be there, who I look forward to. So, yeah, just to name a few.
Okay, thank you very much, Anita. We have another question. It's about how safe it will be to travel to Europe. I will answer that one. So authorities in European countries are aware of the risks increase after the Paris attack in the beginning of November. But of course, security measures have been increased as well. So we encourage you to check the information on the German embassy website of your country, because depending on which country you come from, it can be slightly different. So we encourage you to check this information on the German embassy website. Okay, we have another question for Anne. The question is, will the draft of the guidance document will be available before the Berlin conference?
Yes, it will be, as every previous release of the new version of the guidance document, public consultation will be made in January for this new version of this guidance document. So please check GFSI website, and also an announcement would be made through emails when the public consultation starts.
Okay, thank you, Anne. John, I have another question for you about the Discovery Tour. If you could say what's most interesting about it and why should I sign up? Why should people sign up?
Well, I'm kind of biased here. I mean, the Discovery Tour wants to show examples of retail and manufacturing establishments in the Berlin area, of course, so that we give participants the chance to see what the standards are and what we're doing locally. And Metro is, of course, interested to participate in that. So if I have the opportunity now, I will say come to one of my stores. We want to show you in-store farming. We want to show you how we manage traceability on fresh fish and meat, and we also have a great wine area. And you can imagine what we're going to do there. Oh, but I should say something about someone else as well. So we want to visit some of the other, not quite as good retailers. And there are opportunities to see manufacturers. There's a Coca-Cola bottling plant not very far from Berlin. And I think there'll be plenty of opportunities to see really interesting stuff.
Okay, thank you. I can have another final question because the time is up. So it's another question for Anne. How are the brokers committed to food safety? Anne.
So food brokers and agents are part of the supply chain, the food supply chain, so they're committed to requirements as such.
Okay. I'm sorry for the questions that didn't get answered, but you have our email, my email, and Marioline's emails afterwards. We would like to thank you for attending this webinar. We hope you were able to get some information on what's in there for you. Thank you very much, Anita, John, and Anne, for your valuable insights. We hope to see you in Berlin next year from February 29th to March 3rd. And registrations are open on our website, tcgfoodsafety.com. You will find all the information that you need on our websites listed here, as well as in the LinkedIn group and our Twitter account. Feel free to send us an email if you have any questions related to the program or marketing inquiries. You have the email addresses there. Thank you again for your participation, and we hope to see you in Berlin. Thank you.
See you in Berlin.
See you in Berlin.
Thank you.
Auf Wiedersehen in Berlin.